Get ready to reimagine the future of humanity and unlock your true potential. Welcome to Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, hosted by Dr. David Gruder, an internationally renowned integrative psychologist, human potential expert, author, and social change catalyst, as he delves into the most urgent issues of our time. With the world facing unprecedented challenges and social and political divides growing deeper, it's time to take action. Each episode of this groundbreaking series will empower you with invaluable insights, strategies, and tools to heal these divisions and restore personal freedom and societal well-being. Whether you're a concerned citizen, a courageous leader, an influential figure, or an ambitious entrepreneur, Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours will guide you on a transformative journey. Discover your unique role in creating a brighter future for yourself and society at large. Dr. David Gruder will draw upon his extensive knowledge and experience to provide practical solutions for shaping the world we live in. With his passionate exploration of social change, he will help you navigate through the complexities of our time and inspire you to make a meaningful impact. So, prepare yourself for an eye-opening experience as we delve deep into the heart of the matter. Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours will challenge your perspectives, ignite your imagination, and equip you with the tools you need to reimagine and redefine the world around you. The time to transform our future is now. Join us on this incredible journey and enter a new era of possibility. For more information on Dr. David Gruder and the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, visit www.rhfy.ca. Welcome to Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, where together, we create a brighter tomorrow. Now, here is the host of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours, Dr. David Gruder.
Well, welcome back to the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours show on the X Zone Broadcast Network. I'm your host, Dr. David Gruder, the futurist polymath of human potential and civilization architect who equips leading-edge leaders, influencers, helping professionals, and you with vital resources that make it possible for humanity's most spiritually elevated future to at last emerge. The title of this episode is Reimagining a Brighter Future for Our Youth, Leading with Higher Purpose and Resilience. We all know there's a real crisis unfolding in our educational systems today. How can parents and educators navigate those challenges while truly supporting kids? This episode shows how to create a brighter future for youth by starting with yourself. Practical tools to manage stress and anxiety healthily as a role model, discovering your own Ikigai, which is about your reason for being and higher purpose, and we'll delve into that in this episode, and identifying and supporting your students' or children's Ikigai as well. You'll see how to show up more authentically, build durable resilience, and nurture their dreams more effectively. The perfect person to help sort this out is my guest for this episode, Ms. KRISTA COTE, a fellow Thought Council faculty member with the C-Suite network that I'm part of, who combines over a decade as a certified elementary school teacher with being a trained social emotional coach to serve as a virtual student success specialist. KRISTA helps students worldwide build confidence and love for learning and equips educators and parents to do this with their kids. She does this individually through her globally expanding Ms. COTE's workshops and through initiatives like the Homework Health Hotline in partnership with K-12. KRISTA also hosts the packed virtual 6-part series, The 5 Keys to Raising Resilient Kids and Teens, which centers on mindset shifts, emotional intelligence, and practical skills for real strength and resilience. In this episode, Ms. KRISTA COTE illuminates straightforward ways for parents, educators, and students to discover their own higher purpose, their Ikigai, and handle stress and anxiety in healthier ways so the next generation can build a brighter, more grounded future together. KRISTA, I'm delighted you're here with me on RHFY. Welcome.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here, and I cannot wait to have this conversation with you.
Oh, me too. Me too. Well, in this first segment, we'll look at the symptoms that our education system has that indicate that it's more broken than many realize. But first, KRISTA, how did your passion to help heal the education experience emerge?
It actually started with me because going through education myself, I noticed stress and anxiety was one of the driving factors of my education. And instead of being inspired and excited, I would show up to classes nervous and stressed. And that stress and the nerves continued to carry into my adulthood and into my classroom as well. So I noticed that if I was going to create the vision of what I wanted my classroom to be, I knew that I had to cut my stress and anxiety off at the source and then figure out how to move forward in a way where my education was exciting, and so that I could model that excitement for my students as well and be the example for, instead of stress and anxiety in the educational system, excitement and love and curiosity and joy for learning instead. So it really started with me and wanting to figure out how to help my anxiety and transform education into something that's exciting.
That's marvelous. And as you and I both know, the most fundamental form of leadership there is role modeling, is being the change we
Yes.
want to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as you know, in this episode's next segment, we'll get into root causes of our broken education system. But for the rest of this segment, as I already said, I want to find out from you, KRISTA, about the symptoms that most trouble students, educators, and parents that they experience or notice, but few know how to fix. What are some of those symptoms?
So one that I've noticed causes a lot of stress and anxiety is the test anxiety. So showing up and feeling like you have to know the right answers to some really difficult concepts. So knowing everything in a very pressurized environment where you are given a piece of paper and you're told, okay, you need to get these answers right in order to pass. So I think test anxiety is one of them.
Yep.
Pressure to get good grades. There's socialization. So how do you make friends? How do you keep those friends? How do you maintain your balance with an overpacked schedule? We have all the classes throughout the day. We have 25 minutes to eat lunch. And then after school, we have students going to different sports and extracurricular activities. And where's the time to breathe and all that? And to do what it is that sets your heart on fire. So those are the symptoms that I've noticed is just test anxiety, stress for pressure to get good grades, and socialization, and just overpacked schedules.
Yeah. Well, test anxiety is a student's version of performance anxiety, which adults also experience. And the seeds for that performance anxiety inadvertently get planted in the education system. And so you're quite right about that, I think. And what about the symptoms that educators experience?
I think we experience the same things. Like the performance anxiety, we want to do our best as teachers to support our students in building a life that they're excited about. But we also have the test anxiety, where did we teach in a way that the students understand what the concept is? Did we do enough to support our students? And so I think that we come into the classroom wanting to do our absolute best. And for me personally, if I don't feel like I did that, that's where my symptom of anxiety and stress comes from, where I want to do my best. And if I don't, then I feel like I've failed.
Sure, absolutely. And what about parents? What symptoms are parents experiencing around all of this?
I think one of the things that I would say would be a symptom is when parents ask what students learned at school and they get the, I don't know, or how was school? good. And there's no like conversation about what they actually learned, what they're excited about learning. So I think there's a disconnect between the excitement for what it is they learned and to want to share that with the parents. And then there's the struggle of homework. So when the homework comes home and the kids don't know how to do it, and the parents, maybe the practices that we're practicing now are different from the practices that they were taught, then there's the struggle between how do I help my student? How do I support my child in their education when I'm also trying to navigate my job, and I may not know how to explain how to divide fractions. So I think that we all of us just want to support each other and helping each other succeed, and not knowing how to do that. I think that is one of the symptoms.
Yeah. Well, you just reminded me when you were talking about kids being non-responsive to questions about how was school today, of a book title from many decades ago. And the book title simply said, was, "Where did you go? Out. What did you do? Nothing."
Right. Every time. How was school? Good. What did you learn? I don't know. What about like, I learned how to convert fractions so I can open my own bakery and I know how to scale. Like that, those kind of conversations. Like that's what I want my students to go home and be able to have a conversation around the dinner table and be excited about what they learned, because it's in service of what they are excited about building for their life.
Yeah. And so the way that I'm digesting what you're observing is that the education system is kind of a microcosm of a societal dynamic that I refer to as societal traumatic stress disorder, right? And so the schools are reflecting that and unfortunately reinforcing it in students. What would you say, just briefly, is the connection between the symptoms we've been discussing, especially in the students, and drastically decreased attention spans, internet fixation, and gaming addiction in kids?
So one of the things that I've like gotten excited about is gamifying.
Yes.
So using those strengths, these are students right now, because they have the instant access and instant gratification of these games, these video games. Why not use that to our advantage and create our lessons in a way that makes it feel like it's fun to learn? And so taking the stress that is just memorizing information and trying to figure out how to grow these concepts and these skills, and instead make it fun, make it a game. How can we turn learning how to read, write, do math into something that helps play to those strengths of the fact that these kids love video games, because they're showing what they love to do. So how can we change the model to help them show up in a way that they're just as excited about school as they are with video games?
Exactly. So instead of pushing against those tendencies, use those as strengths through gamification and fun. And I think we just dropped a little hint about the third segment of this episode, where we'll be discussing what to look for in the way of a solution to these problems. I think that would be one of the ingredients. So, I think your key point from this first segment is that, and you haven't gotten into this metaphor yet, so I don't want to take your thunder away from you, but we can talk about this in the next segment. The weeds are overtaking the garden of education for students, educators, parents, and ultimately society's future. And so the rest of this episode, this is for the audience, dives into the root causes of the symptoms that KRISTA and I just described, what to look for in a solution, and KRISTA's version of that solution. After a short break, my guest, education futurist, Ms. KRISTA COTE. I just gave you a new title.
I love
And
that.
I will dig beneath the surface to expose the root causes of our education system's deep dysfunction. I'm Dr. David Gruder. This is the Reimagining Humanity's Future in Your show on the X Zone Broadcast Network. And stay tuned because it's about to get really juicy. Welcome back. Before the break, a spellbreaker guest, Ms. KRISTA COTE, and I discussed symptoms educators, students, and parents experience or know about, even if they don't fully understand their root causes yet. In this segment, as you know, we'll dive into under-recognized root causes of our education system's challenges. So, KRISTA, what are those under-recognized root causes?
So I like to use a metaphor of gardening when I'm talking about the educational system, because every single year I try to plant the most masterful garden in honor of my Nana. And every single year I address challenges of the weeds that I feel like I'm really good at planting and managing a weed garden. So I connect the weeds to stress and anxiety. I relate those two concepts together, and I relate the plants that I want to grow, my double knockout roses, my Shasta daisies, and my hydrangeas, to the confidence and the resilience that I'm trying to cultivate in my classroom. So what I notice is that when you're trying to build your garden, or when you're trying to create a positive environment, those weeds or the stress and the anxiety, those are going to show up. So it's not about like making them go away, but it's about addressing them, understanding where they're coming from, and helping to practice the skills that can go from the stress to building confidence and resilience in a healthy way. So how do we manage that stress and anxiety in a healthy way? And I think the one way to do that is by addressing those weeds when they show up and knowing that they're going to show up. It's normal for them to show up. And how do we navigate weeding our garden, or weeding the negative self-talk from our classroom, or the stress and the anxiety from our classroom, to build a more healthy environment for our plants or our students to survive and thrive?
Yeah. And so I think what we're beginning to touch on is both managing stress and anxiety, and also preventing it by redesigning the education system and the ways that parents are helped to support their kids more effectively, and rearranging the education system also so that teachers are freer to bring their brilliance into the classroom. And so let's go a little further with this metaphor. So what causes those weeds of stress and anxiety to pop up in the garden of the classroom in the first place?
I think what a lot of the stress and anxiety comes from is students maybe do not have an understanding of why they're learning this in the first place, how it affects and impacts their life. So instead of the fact that they're learning math, reading, and writing, sometimes those feel like meaningless tasks. Like they're just checking off things that they need to do to learn. And I think that's what causes the stress, is they don't know what the purpose is behind learning those certain skills. So if we can teach them that we are learning these skills so that we can open doors of opportunity for ourselves in the future, I think that could help with the stress and anxiety of, I'm not doing this because I'm getting graded on it. I'm not doing this because I have to perform well on a test. I'm learning these skills because I want to be an astronaut. I'm learning these skills because I want to open up my own real estate company. I'm like that's what I feel like the stress and anxiety is caused by, is because we are disconnected to our vision of why we're learning these skills in the first place.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And what saddens me in listening to your response is that this is exactly what my generation, the baby boomers, were saying to our teachers when I was coming up through the schools. What's the relevance? How
Yeah.
is this relevant?
Mhm.
Right?
Exactly.
And so the education system has really dropped the ball for a long time in terms of structuring itself so that the relevance is very clear to students, and so students are helped to develop their Ikigai, which we'll get into. I think we need to get into that, because that is one of the keys to creating a sense of relevance. And uh, so what I'll offer about that is that the the delayed gratification mindset that says, well, you'll figure this out later.
Mhm.
And that turns into a stress piece around, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Being asked long before kids know that answer, and being asked without the kids being provided with a framework for starting to discover that answer, is a huge stress creator, wouldn't you say?
And can I also point out that why are we future focusing so much and not also enjoying the present moment? Of why do we have to ask kids what do they want to be when they grow up? Why can't they be what they want to be now? Why can't they create change and enjoy what they are now? Because I feel like when you ask that question, what do you want to be when you grow up, it negates the fact that we have this beautiful opportunity of life currently in the moment here. And
Yeah.
it puts pressure on, okay, I have to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up. Why can't I just enjoy this moment and enjoy learning and playing and growing? So I feel like, should we ask that question anymore? What do you want to be when we grow up? And instead just be like, what do you love to do? What excites you? And that's where the Ikigai comes in.
Yes. Yes. It it it's it's so right. And in terms of root causes, I think it bears saying, for the sake of our audience, something that I assume you know as much as I do, which is that the current broken, outdated education system was created at the dawn of the industrial age, where the objective of the education system, unfortunately, was to train students to become good factory assembly line
Exactly.
workers. And when you're training people to become assembly line automatons, things around passion and purpose and what do you want to be now and things along those lines become completely irrelevant. And that I question whether that was the best way to construct the education system back at the beginning of the industrial age, because it was such a departure from a classic liberal arts education, which I was blessed to have. And I really mourn the vanishing of the liberal arts model in that sense. But I, you know, I want to switch gears for a second, even though we still have to get to Ikigai, and that may happen in the next segment. I I want to have you say a little bit more about your big epiphany during your summer away from the classroom, because I think that really brings all of this alive in a deeper way.
So actually, 7 years after teaching, I walked away from the classroom because the stress and anxiety had such a negative impact on me that I felt like I was going into the classroom almost zombified. And I had to step back and ask myself, what example am I setting for my students? If I'm showing up in this classroom without a direct connection to my purpose of what I'm doing and why I'm teaching, then how can I expect my students to be inspired by my teaching style? So my students are I am so grateful for all the students that show up in my classroom, and I just want to be the North Star of what is possible in life, and the fact that you can go after your dreams and build the tools and the practices to make those dreams a reality. So I stepped back from the classroom and I use that as a moment to revolutionize the way that I was creating my career. So I thought about, how can I create a career? How can I be an example of someone who prioritizes their health, their wellness, and their happiness, so that I can come back into the classroom and be an example of what that looks like, of how to live life in a way that prioritizes your health, prioritizes your relationships, prioritizes your passions. So now, after learning these skills and being an example of how to manage stress and anxiety in a healthy way, now I can show up with an essence of, I'm so excited to share with you what I've learned, instead of teaching lessons to teach lessons. Now I'm embodying the lesson that I want to share with my students, that life is so exciting and there are going to be challenges, and here's how to manage and help yourself navigate those. So now, after 7 years and having to take a step back and essentially walk away from teaching, I was able to return to teaching in a bigger scale and a bigger model. And now I'm a virtual student success specialist, where I'm using those same strategies that I taught myself to help me overcome stress and anxiety. And I'm now teaching them to my students and to parents and educators, so that we can all be the examples of what it means to show up in a way that lights our fire, so that our students and our children can feel so excited about what their future could look like as well, because we are a model of being excited and proud of ourselves in our future and our current reality now.
Yes. Well, we will get into Ikigai in the next segment. But the point I want to make as we wrap up this segment is that Ikigai is not taught in teacher training, neither how teachers can construct their own, let alone how to facilitate the development of this in their students in a here and now way rather than in the future. And so what you described is exactly a portrait of the teachers that most inspired me intuitively. They were doing this as I was coming up through the school system. So basically, we're asking educators to cultivate gardens while standing knee deep in weeds themselves, is the way that you've articulated this, I know. And the system then doesn't just fail students, it fails the people trying to help those students as well, the educators and the parents. So after the upcoming short break, we'll get to the heart of the matter, which is what to look for in a solution that enables education to build students equipped to craft humanity's best future by being the change they want to see in the world. I'm Dr. David Gruder. This is the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours show on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And don't go anywhere, because we're about to plunge into the anatomy of and the ingredients in this notion of Ikigai, which is a Japanese term for the intersection of a number of crucial aspects of what we need to know about ourselves. We're going to continue momentarily. And we're back. Before the break, a shining prototype of the education catalyst of tomorrow, Ms. KRISTA COTE, and I delved into less recognized but vitally important root causes of our unfortunately broken education system. And as I mentioned in this segment, we'll reveal ingredients to look for when you've decided to help kids optimize their education despite how broken the system currently is. KRISTA, what ingredients should educators and parents look for when they become committed to equipping their kids to help a better future emerge in their own unique ways? And let's start with unpacking what Ikigai is.
So first, before we unpack Ikigai, I think the important thing is to clear the weeds. And a lot of so I have a two-part framework. The first part is to clear the weeds. So I first teach what I call the friend test. And this is a negative self-talk interruption strategy. And it works very quickly, and students can use it themselves, and us educators and parents can use it as well. So what the friend test is if you notice a thought in your head that does not serve you, that would be self-doubting or thinking a thought like, I'm bad at this, Ask yourself or ask your child, would you say that to a friend, someone that you deeply care about? And if the answer is no, then pluck that weed. And then the next step in that is to say, okay, well, how would I encourage a friend that's going through the same situation? And what that does is it distances ourselves from the critical thinking of, I'm bad at this, to now empowering ourselves to encourage someone we care about with advice or support. And so whatever we say for encouragement, that becomes our action step of how we move forward. And that can become our action step for our students to move forward. So would you say this to a friend? If not, what would you say to a friend? How would you encourage your friend? And then use that yourself, or you could teach that to your students or your children to use the same encouragement that you would give to a friend for yourself to move forward. And that is how I would clear the weeds with negative self-talk and promote positive self-talk, because I think positive self-talk is one of the most empowering things that we can teach ourselves and our students. And then Ikigai, so after you clear those weeds.
Before we go to Ikigai, I just want to put a punctuation mark on what you were just talking about with positive self-talk. All of us, whether we've identified this part of us the way I'm about to or not, no matter what we call it, all of us have an inner critic.
Yes.
And that inner critic is, it develops in childhood. It's part of a childhood survival plan. It's the part of us that basically shames us and blames others when expectations aren't met. And it's an immature version of what's supposed to be our inner steward, the part of us that helps us preserve stability, predictability, organization, standards, and especially standards around a positive internal climate. And so those two pieces of the friend test, I want to reiterate that if people notice a thought in their head that doesn't serve them, basically ask two questions. Number one, would you say this to someone you really care about? And of course, the answer would be no. And the second is, what would you say instead to that person to encourage them? And then use that on ourselves. Is that a good way to summarize it?
Exactly. And then teach our students and our children how to do that same framework.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Totally agree with you. So that's part one, which is clear the weeds. What's part two?
Part two is to cultivate your Ikigai and start with yourself first. So then you can model what it means to show up in your Ikigai for your students to learn how to make theirs as well. So this could be something that you could do as a classroom. This could be something that you could do at the dinner table and make an event out of it. Make it a family or a classroom event. So Ikigai sits at the intersection of four questions. Question one, what do you love? So what activities make you lose track of time? What would you do even if you weren't paid? What lights you up? Question two, what are you good at? What are your strengths? What do people come to you for help with? What feels easy to you but maybe hard for others? Question three, what does the world need that you care about? So what problems break your heart that you wish you could solve? What do you wish was different? What changes do you want to see? And then lastly, question four, what can you be paid for? How do your gifts create value? How does your work serve others? And then where these four questions overlap, that's your Ikigai. That's your reason for being.
Right. And so what would a child's version of what can you be paid for be as a child? Because that's paid for is often in the
For
future,
adults, right?
not necessarily for teenagers who are inclined toward being entrepreneurs or things like that. But yeah, what's the child's version of what can you be paid for?
I would say, how do your gifts create value? So how can I show up in a way that supports my classmates, my friends, my teacher? So how can I share value in my classroom? What are my gifts that the world needs to see more of?
Yes. So this goes to the real heart of society's problems, which is that there is not enough emphasis on value creation,
Mm.
right? Because again, in the old industrial model of education, we were training people to work for time spent. They're being paid by the hour. They're not really being paid by the value they create. They'll be fired if they create no value, of course, but they're not really being paid by value. They're being paid by time. So this is a huge, huge departure. So let's review those questions again to make an event out of in class or at home. What lights you up? What are some strengths that people come to you for? What changes do you want to see in the world? And what of those things, what of your gifts create value to those around you today and could become a way of being paid in the future?
And another thing that we could use for students, we could ask them, what do you feel like your classroom needs? What do you think like your school needs? What do you think your community needs? Because that creates actionable, immediate help where I think my classroom needs a little bit more caring. I think my classroom needs a little bit more kindness. So then they can start being that and showing up as that and being the example of what it means to care about yourself and the environment around you, or what it means to spread more kindness in your classroom.
I think that what you just said is a truth bomb that I want to say in a different way in order to drive it home. What you're basically saying is that by cultivating Ikigai in kids, we are creating the foundation and the heart of civic education, which is something that has pretty much vanished in the school systems, is civic education. I used to, when I was coming up through the schools, one of the grades that I got in elementary school was in civics. How good a citizen was I?
Mm.
The problem in my education was that what being a good citizen was never really defined. We were just somehow supposed to figure out how to be good citizens, and we were certainly told about the importance of that. But what makes that relevant and personal is this Ikigai kind of approach. You know, well, I want to, before I go into the next thing in this segment, I first want to check with you about whether there are any other crucial parts. You said part one was positive self-talk. Part two is cultivate your Ikigai. Is there a part three, or is that it?
So those are the two parts. But I
Okay.
think another thing that is important to point out is that I feel like we are at an incredible opportunity right now to revolutionize education in a way where our education is just as unique as each an individual student is, where we as teachers are the resources to support our students in the way that is unique to our students. And we do this a lot as educators. This is our goal, is to provide an education that is as unique and as that helps our students build a future that they're excited about. So just continuing to recognize the opportunity of how can we make our education as unique as our students are.
Mm-hmm. Well, to do that would be to put the final nail in the coffin around the industrial age version of the education system. And it's long, long overdue in happening. Uh, do you have a short version statement of your Ikigai?
My Ikigai is to take the best care of me so I can take the best care of the world. That would be
Nice.
to take the best care of me so that I can take the best care of the people around me and the best care of the environment that we live on. That is what I love. That is what I feel like I'm good at. That is what I feel like my vision is. That's what I feel like the world needs more of, is just more caring. And I feel like it starts with us.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ikigai doesn't have to be outrageously audacious, although I'm a fan of audacity. So my version of audacious is whatever the growth edge is for that individual, not something beyond that. Uh, we have just a few seconds left in this segment. Would you like me to share my
I
Ikigai?
would love to hear your Ikigai. Yes, please. I would love to hear that.
Hmm. Well, I am a diagnostician of distortion, a translator between pressure and integrity, and an architect of civilizational leadership and personal coherence that can be lived. I love naming what others feel but cannot yet see. I'm gifted at diagnosing distortion and architecting coherence. The world urgently needs humane leadership and resilient and impactful leadership under chronic stress, and my life's work sustains me by turning integrity itself into a livable, civilizationally scalable operating system.
That is an incredible example of what it means to know what your Ikigai is. That is incredible. That was brilliant.
Oh, well, thank
Brilliant.
you. Ikigai has been precious to me for a long time, as you might imagine. So the solution has to work for the teacher standing in front of 30 kids on a Tuesday morning, as well as parents spending time with their kids after a long day of work. It's got to be real, practical, and sustainable. After our upcoming break, we'll return for this episode's final segment, during which I'll be asking Ms. KRISTA COTE to reveal more about how she provides her mold breaking version of the solution ingredients we just unpacked. I'm Dr. David Gruder. This is the Reimagining Humanity's Future and Your show on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, and we will return shortly. Well, before the break, the queen of equipping educators and parents to prepare kids for their best future, Ms. KRISTA COTE, and I unpacked ingredients to look for when you want to effectively support the next generation to discover and enact their unique roles in building humanity's best future and their own. As I already mentioned during this final segment of this episode, which is called Reimagining a Brighter Future for Our Youth, Leading with Higher Purpose and Resilience, KRISTA will reveal how she provides what we suggested in the last segment that you look for. I'll then let you know how to access her great ways of helping students, educators, and parents do this. After that, KRISTA and I will each share in a brief soundbite sentence, brief takeaway that we hope you've gained from this episode, followed by my closing comments. So, KRISTA, how do you help students, educators, and parents ensure educator well-being, clear the weeds, connect to purpose, individualize education, and make all of this practical and accessible?
By teaching it. So I teach online. I'm a virtual teacher now. So I have the amazing ability to be able to reach people all over the world. So I'm now teaching workshops where I teach this model to parents, educators, students, schools, anyone who is looking to practice addressing their weeds and learning how to manage stress and anxiety in a healthy way, and then cultivate their Ikigai. So I teach online. I teach this framework virtually through Zoom.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant, because now your reach isn't 1 to 30, one teacher to a classroom of students. Your reach is 1 to the planet.
We're in such an incredible time right now where we have the ability to connect globally. So that's that I'm capitalizing on that. I want to be able to share these tools with as many people as possible, to equip as many people as possible with strategies that they can use to manage stress and anxiety in healthier ways, so that we can uplift and upgrade the health of our planet.
Exactly. And so what you're really providing an important model for is how to create harmony between our own purpose and our own aliveness and making a difference in the world rather than keeping those two things separated from each other, which they never should be. And what you're doing is you've taken seriously the question of what should educators and parents and students be looking for in the way of a solution, and then you have been audacious enough to offer that solution in a way that I rarely come in contact with. So you've got something really special because of having crafted your own version of the solution that everyone should be looking for. And what I want to add about that is that this is a perfect complement, not only to regular schools, but to charter schools and also to homeschooling.
Yes.
Right? So this is beautiful. I'm going to toot your horn for you because this podcast, this show is really about informing and educating people. It's not infomercials. So I don't want you tooting your own horn. There's an old saying, a king or queen never crowns themselves. They're always crowned by others. So I'm going to crown you for you. Ms. Cote's, I'll say it this way. Ms. Cote doesn't just teach this. She's lived it. She was the burnt out teacher. And these tools that we've been talking about are what brought her back. She focuses on educators, I think, first, because they're the example for 30 kids at a time, one to many, and as well as parents, but teachers, because the ripples of impact are greater. And when teachers are lit up by life, students catch that. And so what KRISTA does is she helps teachers and parents see how to help their kids develop their Ikigai, as well as positive self-talk, because all of our Ikigais are unique, just as every educator's and parents' Ikigai is unique. And so I am going to encourage all of you to make a priority of learning about Ms. Cote's workshops and other services for future equipping students, elevating educators, and empowering parents through the link I'm about to share with you. But before I share that link, did I get anything wrong, or is there anything that you wanted to add?
That was so beautifully said. I so appreciate all that you just said.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I am saying this because I appreciate deeply what you're doing. And the reason I appreciate it is precisely because of what I said a couple of moments ago. This is what to look for in a solution to the root causes of the broken education system. And if you find someone else that provides this, great. But here's someone who's already providing it. So what I've done is I've created a magic forwarder URL so that you can learn more about Ms. Cote's workshops. That's easier to remember than the long form version of her URL. But this forwarder takes you to that page. And the forwarder link is thecess.com. The CES is the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty. THECES.com/COTE, which is spelled COTE. I encourage you to find her email there on that page and to get in touch with her to explore the customized ways she can help you and your kids. As we start to wind down this episode, let's get your takeaway that you most want people to walk away from this episode having discovered, learned. What's the big epiphany for people?
The big epiphany that I would say is that we have such a beautiful opportunity here right now to be the change that we wish to see moving forward by learning tools and skills and being in practice of those tools and skills so that we can show up in a way that's empowered, equipped with how to manage stress and anxiety in healthy ways so that we can make space for our Ikigais to exist And so we can make space for our students' Ikigais to exist as well. So they're excited about what it is that they're learning, and they're excited about the life that they are crafting, and that they know that they can craft a life designed by them.
Beautifully, beautifully said. And mine, a couple of things. First of all, education should help us build lives we're excited to live. And that starts with educators and parents who are excited about their own lives. When one teacher discovers their Ikigai and learns to manage their stress, they model that for the students in their classroom. And those, give or take 30 students, then go home to their families and hopefully inspire their parents to develop their own Ikigai. And that's how we create an inspired future, one flower, one garden at a time, to draw on your wonderful, perfect metaphor. Ikigai development must be a cornerstone of education's future, because education systems that don't help students discover their Ikigai and equip them to embody it are systems that can never help our next generation craft our best future.
Well said.
Awesome. As I move, I'm going to do a final plug for you, and then I'm going to ask if you have any final comments, and then I'll do my final comments. Again, discover Ms. COTE's workshops at thecess.com/COTE. That's THECESS.com/COTE, and get in touch with her through the email address she's listed there. What final comments do you have?
I am so excited to learn everybody else's Ikigai. So if you do this framework and you do sit down with your students or your children and work through the Ikigai, please send me emails to tell me what your Ikigai is, so I can support you and cheer you on creating an environment that supports that Ikigai. I would love to hear everybody's Ikigai, because I think it's such a beautiful thing to not only do it, but to share it with the world. So if you'd love to share it with me, I would love to hear what you and your students and your children's Ikigais are, so that I can help support you in that as well.
I think that is brilliant. And again, KRISTA's email is on the page that you'll be taken to through the forwarder link. And even though I don't do what you do, if any of you want to also share your Ikigai with me, I would love to hear that. So, but not because I'm going to do what Ms. COTE does, but because I would just love to hear it.
Right.
So, KRISTA, thank you so much for being on my show.
I so appreciate that you invited me. It was such a pleasure to be here and to have a conversation with you. And I cannot wait to see where we go from here and how we continue to build on the beautiful future that we have in store for us.
Awesome. And thank all of you for joining me for this episode of Reimagining Humanity's Future and Yours on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. This has been Dr. David Gruder, the futurist, polymath of human potential, and civilization expert, or a civilization architect, rather. I'm still wrapping my mind around that title, civilization architect, who equips leading edge leaders, influencers, and you with impactful resilience that makes it possible for humanity's most spiritually elevated future to at last emerge. I invite you to explore my main website, drgruder.com. That's drgruder.com, where you'll find a link to watch or listen to all of this show's episodes, as well as a link to the Center for Enlightened Self-Sovereignty, which is helping to dissolve divisiveness by reuniting individuals, businesses, nations, and humanity, so we can at last usher in the age of what I call spiritual self-sovereignty that serves us all. The world needs you and your Ikigai. Your nation needs you. Your loved ones need you. You need you. Boost your impact in helping the future you most want to emerge. I enthusiastically invite you to tune in next time for another spell-busting, uplifting, and actionable episode on how together we can and will build a better future for ourselves and for humanity.